Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be showing you how to replace your valve cover gaskets on your car or truck. Now this truck here is a 1990 Ford Bronco, and in my case the valve cover gaskets are bad and oil is leaking down the side of the engine block, and it's leaking onto the exhaust manifold as well. So I can smell a burnt oil smell from outside the vehicle, and I can smell the burnt oil from inside the vehicle as well, especially if I were to turn on the AC, the heat, or just to open up the vent. So I will be showing you guys how to replace those gaskets. Now let's get started. Now first things first, disconnect your battery cables. Now loosen and remove your intake ducting. Remove your throttle cable cover. Now carefully pry off your throttle cable. Remove these two bolts and set your throttle cable assembly off to the side. Now remove all of the vacuum lines attached to the intake plenum. Remove the valve cover breather hose. Now unplug all of your spark plug wires on a distributor end and put them off to the side. Next, we're going to remove this complete assembly here, which includes the ignition coil, the EGR solenoid, and the two air solenoids as well. So first, let's disconnect the ignition coil. Make sure to carefully unplug the vacuum lines. Now you can remove the two inner nuts holding down the assembly. Then remove the outer nut. And now remove your assembly. You will need to remove the fuel line, and you will need a special tool to do so. So attach the tool here and push in, and the fuel line should pop out. So now we have the driver's side valve cover completely exposed. The next step is to expose the passenger side, which will require the intake plenum to be removed. So first step, let's remove the throttle body and all of these electrical connectors. Now start off by removing the coolant bypass hose. Now disconnect all of the electrical connectors. Now we will be removing the IAC valve with the throttle body, so just unplug the IAC valve for now. And remove the purge solenoid and set it off to the side. Now while you're at it, unplug the EGR vacuum line. Remove the harness bracket retaining nut. And remove the heater hose bracket as well. And now you can remove your throttle body and set it off to the side. For the next step, you have to remove the EGR valve. And to do that, it's better to spray some penetrating oil on this pipe nut here. And once the oil sets, then remove the pipe nut. Remove the EGR bolts. And remove your EGR. Next, remove the intake plenum support bracket. Alright, now it's time to remove the intake plenum. It has 6 bolts securing it into place, 3 on the outside and 3 on the inside, which are pretty easy to remove except for the one on the inside middle, which is a Torx bit style bolt, and I'll show you how to remove that in just a minute. But first I'm going to remove the 2 front bolts and the 2 rear bolts. Now you can see the bolt here in the middle that I was talking about. This is a T40 size Torx head bolt, and I am using a T40 on the 1/4 inch drive with an extension to be able to remove it. And once you get it all the way loose, use a magnet to fish it out. And now remove the last intake plenum bolt. And now you can remove your intake plenum. Now be sure to cover up your intake plenum ports with a rag or paper towel to make sure nothing falls inside of these ports. Next, remove your PCV valve assembly. Now remove the wiring harness tie downs. And lift the harness off the valve cover studs. And now it's time to remove the valve cover. It has 6 bolts, 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. So let's remove those bolts so we can lift off this valve cover. Once all the bolts are out, carefully pry up your valve cover. And now we can remove the driver's side valve cover as well. Now this one's a little trickier since you have the fuel line right there, but you can finagle it out of here. Now we don't want anything falling inside of the engine, so cover up the heads with a nice set of rags. As you can see, the gaskets on these valve covers are in really bad shape. They're made out of this cork material that has hardened and cracked, and all of the oil was just leaking everywhere. So I will be replacing these gaskets with the new metal reinforced rubber from Felpro, and I will replace some of the other gaskets that we encountered along the way as well. Now I will be cleaning up these valve covers. I'll remove all of the old gasket material and clean all the dirt and debris from the outside and inside, and I will throw on a fresh coat of paint to make them look nice and new. So let's get started on that now. Make sure to clean the inside of the valve cover as well. So about 13 years later, I finally got these valve covers clean. I did clean them on the outside and on the inside. I got them looking pretty decent, so I'll be sanding them down now and getting them ready for paint. Now I've already painted the passenger side, so I'll be working on the driver's side now. I've got the valve cover completely sanded down and taped off, so she's ready for paint. And I am using the Duplicolor engine enamel with ceramic. I've had really good results with this product, so I'm going to start painting now. You're going to want to apply 2 light coats and then a 3rd medium coat. Make sure to wait about 10 minutes between coats. With the valve covers nicely painted, it's time to put them back on. Make sure you clean up the cylinder head really good. I had some gasket material that was still left over, so I carefully scraped it off and it's nice and clean now. I'm ready to install the valve cover. Make sure to install all the bolts nice and loose and then tighten them down. And now reattach the wire loom onto the studs of the valve cover. And now let's install the driver's side valve cover. Be sure to clean the cylinder head mating surface really well and remove any old gasket material. Reinstall your PCV system. Now take this opportunity and organize and set your ignition wires on before we install the plenum, as it is easier to do so now. Now we're ready to install the plenum. Make sure the mating surface is nice and clean. Install your new gasket. And carefully set down the plenum. To reinstall the Torx bolt, I use a long magnet and I slip it through the opening. I give the bolt a couple of turns, and once it catches, I release the magnet and then I can go ahead and tighten it down. Make sure to install all of the plenum bolts first and then torque them down. Install the plenum support and be sure to attach the ground strap. Install the EGR valve. Make sure to tighten down the EGR pipe nut and connect the vacuum. Make sure to use a new gasket and install your throttle body. Reattach your wiring bracket, and now reconnect all your electrical connectors. And be sure to attach the purge solenoid and the IAC valve. And now reinstall the coolant bypass hose. And now you can reconnect your fuel line. Install the ignition coil and solenoid assembly. Now connect all the vacuum lines and connectors. And now you can connect your ignition coil. Attach the valve cover breather hose. Now attach all of the vacuum lines. Attach your throttle cable bracket and snap on your throttle cable. And now you can tighten down your throttle cable cover. Install your intake ducting. And now you can finally reconnect your battery. Alright guys, that job is a wrap. We were able to replace those valve cover gaskets and clean up those old dirty valve covers. We painted them and they look really fresh in there too. And now I'll be able to enjoy the AC this summer since I won't be smelling all that burnt oil. So if this video helped you guys, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.